So in the past few weeks, I've been getting a lot of the same question over and over again. People have been reaching out to me on Instagram and here on the YouTube channel, asking essentially the same question in a few different forms. And most recently, I got an email through my website last night asking the question. So I figured instead of responding to everyone individually, I would come on and make a video on this subject. The email I got last night was from a subscriber named Denzel. Denzel describes himself as a 26-year-old guitarist living just outside of Nashville, Tennessee, and he has a few different church gigs that he alternates between on weekends, but other than that, he doesn't really have any opportunities to play out or to play gigs. Now, if you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Rhett Shull, and for the past 8 years or so, I've been making a full-time living as a professional guitarist. In those 8 years, I've done a lot of different gigs, from playing in bars till 3 a.m. to touring all over North America with a few different bands. So today I'm going to share with you some of my story and some things that I've learned along the way when it comes to finding and landing a gig. So the first thing you need to do is to define success. Define what you want to do, right? What kind of music do you want to play? How often do you want to play? Is this something you want to do professionally, where you're going for the big time huge touring act with multiple buses and arena rock tours, or do you just want to play in bars on the weekends to have fun with some friends and get out and play? Either one is great, but you need to decide for yourself what your goals are. Once you've set some goals, then it's a lot easier to figure out how to accomplish those goals. So first of all, the most important thing that I found when it comes to finding a gig is just being around. You got to be in the scene. Nobody's going to hire you if nobody knows that you exist. Do you want to play in an original band with an original artist? Well, find out where those artists, where those writers, those singer-songwriters are hanging out and where they're playing. Go to a few shows, start meeting people, start striking up conversations with members of their band. Now, here's an important lesson that I learned pretty early on when it comes to being in the scene and letting people know that you are available for work. What you don't want to do is be overeager. You don't want to come into a situation guns blazing with business cards printed up and your Instagram profile ready to share and say, hey, look, everyone, I'm a guitarist. You want to hire me? Here's my contact information. Check me out on Instagram. Look at this sweet solo that I learned how to play. I've learned from experience that you don't want to be the guy that comes across as overly eager by saying things like, hey man, if you ever need anything, I'm available. If you ever need a guitar player, I'd love to play. Or hey, if you have a session coming up, well, I'd love to play on it, right? I did that for longer than I'm willing to admit here on this video. And I noticed a few things. One, it pretty much never worked. And two, the first time somebody came and said that to me, I realized that, oh, this doesn't sound very professional at all. It makes me sound desperate. That's really, in my opinion, the best thing that you can do. Just be around in the scene, get to know people, get to develop relationships with people. And through that, you will not only develop a good repertoire with musicians in your area who are doing what you want to do, but you'll develop friendships. The people that I play with and I've been playing with for years are some of the closest friends that I've ever had. Another thing to think about is when to make a move. I've been playing with Noah Guthrie for about 5 years now. And a little over 5 years ago, Noah first came on the scene because he had a massively successful YouTube cover that's now at 25 million views.
I got a passion in my past, and I ain't afraid to show it, show it, show it. Ooh, I'm sexy and I know it.
When he posted that cover, I didn't know Noah. I didn't know what part of the country he lived in. I'd never heard him before, but I was teaching guitar lessons, and one of my students came into my studio and said, hey man, you got to check this kid out. He's amazing. I saw the video and instantly I was blown away. And I remember watching that video thinking, man, I would love to play with that guy. Again, I didn't know this dude. I didn't know where he lived. I thought he was probably in LA or something and had no way of knowing how to get in contact with him. It was just kind of a pipe dream. I was like, man, I love his voice. I love his sound. I would love to be in that guy's band. Well, fast forward to about 6 months later, and I met Noah at Rick Beato's studio. See, things in your career will start to happen. Call it luck, call it serendipity, whatever. And you need to know when is the right time to step up and take advantage of those opportunities. Right around that time is when I'd first met Rick, when I come into the studio with my first gig with Carl Dillon and we made a record. Not long after we did that record, Noah Guthrie came and did a record with Rick. So for a few weeks I thought about it and I came to the conclusion that, okay, This is a big opportunity. I literally said I wanted to play with this guy, and now through the course of life, an opportunity has arisen where I could hopefully land a gig with this guy. So I took some time and I thought about my approach. And I texted Rick, who at the time I didn't know very well. And I said, hey man, I see you've got Noah Guthrie coming in a few weeks. I would love to come and meet him and just say hello. I'm a big fan of his sound and I would like to just say hi. Is it cool if I come in and hang on one of the days in the studio? Rick was absolutely cool with it. He said, yeah, sure, come by on this day at this time. So I go to the studio and I walk in and Noah and Ian are sitting in there. I ended up going and hanging out with Ian in the lounge at the studio. We struck up a conversation and just kind of started developing a little dialogue. I didn't come in and say, hey man, I love your sound. Do you need a guitar player? I'd love to play a guitar for you. Can I play guitar for you? I was just hanging out. I was in the studio. I got to know Ian a little bit while Noah was cutting a vocal, and then Noah came in and we just kind of talked and, you know, found out he's from South Carolina. My family's from South Carolina, you know, just start to develop some connections with people. Then through that, they asked me what I do, and I said, oh, I'm a guitar player. And he said, oh, cool. Well, maybe you could play on the song we're working on. So that day I played on Noah's record. I played on a song called Patchwork Lover. Now, when it comes to landing a gig, another important part is being prepared for that opportunity. This is where all of the practice, all of the learning, the skills, knowing your gear, knowing your tone, knowing your sound is so important. Is when you're presented with an opportunity like this, you can capitalize on it and make the most of it. I recorded on the song and they really liked what I did. Fast forward a couple months and one thing leads to another. Noah starts his band and I got the call to be the guitar player, and here we are 5 years later and I'm still playing with the guy. So in that story are a lot of great learning experiences. One, define your goals. Define your success. I said, I want to play with Noah Guthrie. Two, be prepared when an opportunity arises to take advantage of that opportunity. When I saw he was coming into the studio where I knew the studio owner and producer, I reached out and asked if it was cool if I just came and hang. Three, just be a good hang. I say it all the time on this channel. You want to be the type of person that somebody wants to hang out with, somebody wants to have a relationship with. That's more important than your musicianship, your chops, your knowledge of theory, what kind of gear you have, or your tone. And four, just keep going. You're not going to get every gig. Some things you're going to go out for and somebody else is going to get, or the opportunity is just not going to arise the way you thought it was. That's okay. You just have to keep going. That's why I say at the end of every video, there is no plan B. Because to do this job, to do this for a living, it's tough. Sometimes things dry up. Sometimes you have really, really great periods where you can't accept all the work you're being offered. Sometimes you go months without playing a single gig and you have to figure out other ways of generating income. That's just the nature of this business. But hopefully by taking some of the lessons that I talked about here today, you'll be much more likely to find a gig and find the gig that you have been wanting to land for a while. So let me know what you think about this video in the comments. Is there something I didn't cover? How do you like to find a gig? How did you find the gig that you're on now? I'd love to know those stories. So leave them in the comments section down below. If you want to support the channel, you can check out the links in the description box. You can also follow me on Instagram, all my other socials linked below. Thanks for watching. I'm Rhett Shull, and remember, there is no plan B.